Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2020. We are at the campus of the Immaculate Conception Seminary at Huntington in New York. We have a golden opportunity to talk to Reverend Dr. Thomas Kalam. Dr. Thomas Kalam, CMI, is a great scholar, administrator, my professor, and a very interesting preacher. And he lived through the transition of the Syriac liturgy into Malayalam. So we would like to hear, when was your ordination?
1969, April 27.
1969?
My ordination.
Okay, but seminary training was during the Syriac era.
Yes.
During the Syriac era, did you learn Syriac?
I started serving Syriac Mass at the age of 7.
Where?
In my parish church, Pulingunna.
Uh-huh.
At the age of 7, I learned all these Syriac, Aramaic prayers.
Okay.
Without knowing any meaning. And I knew practically all these prayers by heart. And then I joined the seminary at the age of 13. And all the masses were there in Aramaic, Latinized version of the Chaldean liturgy. So we used to serve the Mass and we learned Syriac for 2 years. I was very fond of that language. And I even used to write poems in Syriac language.
Wait a minute. You wrote your own poems in Syriac language? You absorbed language that much?
Yes. And for the manuscript magazine, I used to publish my Syriac poems.
Oh, wow.
And I was fond of it, actually. Uh-huh. And when I was in the novitiate, a few years later, the new liturgy was being introduced. And it was going to be in vernacular. I was in the novitiate. My father, who was a very pious Catholic, who was an early communicant, who loved the Syriac Mass, and his English teacher, who was also my English teacher, both of them one day came to the novitiate. With the special permission of the Novice Master, Father Benjamin, they met me, and with one request. And the request was, when the new liturgy is introduced, you should give us a promise that you would never say that Mass.
Meaning when you get ordained?
Ordained. I am only a novice. But I was waiting for this transition eagerly into vernacular language. So I didn't want to offend my father or my teacher. So I said, I have so many years to go before I get ordained. We will decide it then, right? There's no point in giving you a word now, actually. And then I was learning typing in the novitiate. I could not type well. Father Placid's introductory notes on the new liturgy became available to me. And I remember, although I did not know the typing very well, I made 12 copies of that document and sent it to the monasteries.
You liked it so much?
So much.
So you were so ecstatic about this project of new Malayalam translation of the liturgy.
Yes.
Your dad was on the opposite extreme.
Yes.
He didn't even want to visualize that this liturgy will be in Malayalam. Because he considered the language so sacred. So why was such a contrast?
What I noticed was people who were taking part in the Syriac Mass meaningfully, with the help of translations and all that, they loved it. Whereas those of us who did not understand anything, we were waiting for meaningful translation.
Wow.
There was tension actually at that stage.
How did your classmates, your other novices and people, you never communicated to the people in the parish, did you? How did they feel?
I think they were passive. Most of the people were passive in their old liturgy, and for them there was no difficulty in accepting the new one.
Oh, okay.
Whereas people who were taking part in the liturgy meaningfully, for them it was difficult. It was beautiful, and I was very much interested in the rite business. I mean, the way it was celebrated.
Okay. My question is, you loved the Syriac as a young man,
Yes.
teenager.
Yes.
You loved the Syriac so much.
Yes.
And then you were ordained, you said your first Mass in Malayalam.
Yeah.
You celebrated your 50th anniversary of your ordination.
Yeah.
So now when you look back, how do you assess this transition in the Syro Malabar Church?
I was proud of the heritage, the Syrian, the Chaldean heritage. In fact, recently I went to Rome to give a talk on the basic difference in the soteriology of the East and West.
Oh.
The title of my talk was Beyond Rites and Rituals, and the point I made was liturgy, the main part of liturgy is theology and spirituality. Father Placid used to say, Orientals don't have rubrics, they have a formation. All their rubrics sort of are the expressions of that formation they receive. And that formation, I think, is what is lacking in my church today. Rubrics do not create a rite. The theology, for example, salvation in the West from the time of is the atonement in the West, both for Protestants and Catholics. Catholics believe Jesus saved us by suffering, but something is lacking, so we are going to fulfill the whole thing. Protestants believe that is enough, what he did was enough. Both are atonement, but for the Oriental fathers, including Ephraim, it is deification. We are created in God's image, and we are not yet in that image. That is sinfulness, missing the mark. And what is that image? Jesus shows us through his gospel, that image. And salvation means me reaching that image.
Okay.
In day-to-day life also it is reaching the deification, theosis. And that is what is celebrated. Actually, in Syro Malabar liturgy, expressions are there. But this is not the spirituality, this is not the theology that my people still have on their minds.
Okay.
So, this is a beautiful thing, theosis. Every day we are reaching that image. When I turn the other cheek, I am reaching that image. When I go an extra mile, I am reaching that image. However much we try, we are not going to be completely in that image. So on the last day, he will reach out and touch us, and we will be transformed. That is eternal salvation.
Oh, beautiful. So we have a unique theology.
Yes.
And mostly in the Syro Malabar Church, our conflicts and fightings are over rubrics. And minor, not on this basic, profound theological vision. So would you allow us to post that paper on our channel, on our website?
I gave the talk for 2 days actually.
Oh,
it's a long thing actually.
Oh, okay.
I can summarize it and give it to you.
Oh, okay, please. Because that's a great vision. Yes.
I mean, that is where everything changes, because whole Christian life is a joyful sort of pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. Every day I am trying to live according to the image in which I am created.
Oh, okay.
Original sin is not yet being in that image.
Okay.
Adam and Eve's story is a story to express this reality, this theological reality of not being in God's image.
Oh, okay.
So St. Ephraim speaks about that. All the Cappadocian fathers, very clearly they speak about that. And where is that theology? The clear expression, I come from my Syro Malabar tradition to a Latin church, now I am working in I didn't have to change anything in my spirituality because it was Latin spirituality, right? Mm-hmm. I don't say it is bad, but that's not Oriental spirituality. Mm-hmm. Oriental look is different.
Okay. Now, our interview will be posted on the Aramaic Project channel.
Yeah.
So, we are trying to revive the language, the sound, the sentiments, the melodies and all that. So, what do you think? What is your suggestion?
My suggestion is go deep into this Oriental heritage. Ephraim says, only two of you are completely beautiful, you and your mother. And we believe that. Immaculate Conception and Jesus are only in God's image completely. all of us have to become that.
Yes.
And that is what salvation is. Christian life means that living in the image of God in this world and attaining it finally.
And Saint Ephraim communicated this theology through Aramaic chants. He wrote
Chance,
poems.
yes.
But that tradition which you lived and relished is now almost obsolete. My generation, his generation, and the coming generation have no idea. So what should we do?
Father Placid, I lived with him 2 years in Rome.
Oh wow.
Repeatedly he used to tell me, we need a formation, not rubrics. All the strife in the Syro Malabar Church is now about rubrics, turning this way or that way. But what about the basic theology, right? Which we translate into our life through our spirituality. Somebody must start speaking about that. I love the Aramaic, the Syrian heritage, but the substantial things first.
Oh, okay. Do you have any suggestions to how to preserve this language?
The language is a classical language. Nobody is going to distort it. It will be preserved. And at least a few people should learn it and go back to the original meanings. Very often we have to revise our theological understanding when we understand the meaning of words.
Okay.
So that will happen to theology, and our liturgy as well. People like what you do, if a few more people do, that's the best way to preserve this wonderful heritage.
Yeah. And this is a CMI legacy.
It is a
All three founders were Malabans. So
Saint Chavara with 6 classes of education, he was a scholar in this language, right? He could translate the whole liturgy in Aramaic.
thank you, Thomas, for your time.
Thank you.
Please pray for this project and please bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
I appreciate what you are doing for this cause.
finally, can I put you on the spot? Can you say something in Syriac? The Our Father?
Chethippuzha. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.